Hello and welcome back to the Comedian's OutLuke podcast. I'm Luke Anthony, and this week I'm joined by Paul Richards. He is a drummer, writer, novelist, playwright, comedian, performer, and, but not limited to, drum teacher. Paul has toured music all over the UK and China, comedy all over the UK, and taken 25 shows to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. He has written countless plays, released a novel, and although he doesn't get much spare time, he also teaches the drums. It's fair to say he's busy, but he is also seeing a lot of success as a musician and a comedian. Well, without further ado, here is my conversation I had with him.
What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Well, I could die.
So firstly, really, thanks so much for joining me.
No worries at all. Sorry, I'm hungover.
So tell me a bit about your history in music. When did you start playing, and what did your parents think to your career aspirations when you first saw it?
Well, my dad was a professional drummer, so that helped things. So until he had kids, I was one of them, my sister was the other, and I think he had to get a sensible job after that. So music's always been in the family, especially drums as well. So but I always denied it because I wanted to be my own person until I got to sort of 17, 18 and realised I was terrible at school, at education, and drums was the only thing I was good at. So I ended up being in a band instead, which is a pretty cool way to live, isn't it, really? So yeah, I'm 37 now, so look at sort of just 20 odd years of playing and 6 years playing professionally.
Okay, but it's interesting because often some people that are musicians are in the industry. They don't necessarily want their children to go into drumming. They've seen the worst of it, they've seen the best of it, and they want to protect you from that. But it's interesting. You've failed at school, you're saying?
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
But you could play the drums.
Yes, absolute loser at school. I was distracted, should we say, all the time. I was obsessed with the music of Elvis Costello, and I was just constantly writing Costello lyrics into my maths book instead of doing maths. And so I was, a bit of a lost child, but well-meaning. But yeah, the music industry isn't all about being famous. Yeah, there's a lot of corporate gigs. I do a lot of weddings, which we don't really talk about and stuff, but it pays the bills, doesn't it?
Of course, yeah. And I imagine if you weren't being paid for it at all, you'd still be doing it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because it's my selling point, isn't it? Still, it's the thing that I know I'm good at, and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of us don't have many talents, but we need to capitalise on the ones that we do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's my USP, isn't it? So yeah.
So I think it's fair to say then that music was your first love. It was.
Yeah, totally, and certain artists that I'm into as well, and yeah, you get kind of. Weirdly obsessed with them and analyse their drummers and why they're doing that and why have they chosen this drummer for this project and stuff like that, and it becomes a thing, doesn't it? Yeah, obsession. So yeah. So
it's just drums you played, or did you play other instruments as well? Did you?
It's just drums, but I sort of go away from sort of standard kit stuff. I do a lot of African percussion and sort of a bit of timpani and all that stuff as well. So I'm very percussional based. So, yeah.
I've heard you've performed at my comedy club, and absolutely incredible. And I sort of wish you would headline now, because I think you absolutely killed it, which I'm sure I'll get you in for a headline in the future.
Oh, bless you, thank you.
But you're clearly an amazing musician. So you originally wanted to go into music? It's quite common for me as a comedian. I started out in acting and then music, and I always wanted to be a musician.
Yeah, totally.
And then I sort of stopped taking myself seriously and realised I wasn't that good at it. And then decided to see the funny side of life and went into comedy.
Sure.
So is it always music was the first aim, was it?
I grew up sort of obsessed with My Mother's New Album and Dad's Army and Only Fools and Horses and the classic sitcoms. And if you're, I hate to use the word loser again, but if you're at school and you feel like you're the underdog, you kind of almost associate yourself with a sitcom. And so I kind of wanted to do a sitcom at some point.
Yeah.
And so I started taking shows in Edinburgh Fringe. I started writing for people, ended up being trained by Menagerie Theatre in Cambridge, who are wonderful people. I was a bursary writer for them. And so I ended up being a writer for a while. And I think drummers get a bad name as being the thickest one in the band and stuff. And I think I needed something else to prove myself that there's more to me.
What people forget is that the drums are the one that if you're dancing, you're dancing to the drums.
Yeah, totally. Good drummers, we get all the work, and it's a
proper workout as well.
It really is, isn't it? It's mostly the carrying stuff afterwards, because I unload my drum kit because I teach drums as well, and I unload it probably 4 to 5 times a day, and it's a lot of carrying, isn't it, around? But I think it keeps me physically in shape. So yeah.
Yeah, I just want to go back to like being in school and feeling like a bit of an outcast.
Yeah.
I had bipolar and I struggled with school, with bullying and all that sort of stuff because of it, and all that sort of stuff. And like you said like you start seeing your life like a sitcom.
Yeah.
And I just find that amusing. Like at the age of like 14, 15, you're like, it's okay. This is all going to be for something. I'm going to write a killer sitcom, and I'm going to put my middle finger up to them all.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a wonderful band called Ben Folds 5, who no one's really heard of apart from me, but they're an amazing band, and he wrote a song called One Angry Dwarf and 200 Solemn Faces. That's totally how I see myself, as the angry dwarf. And but it's about like, going back to that school and kind of just giving the fingers, as you say. So yeah.
You know what's you do realise okay, you can obviously, this isn't film, but he is about 6'4", so
yes.
He says dwarf, but he's certainly shot up.
I'm a lanky giant, aren't I? That's the thing, an awkward giant, but yeah.
That's brilliant. So I mean, and I guess like being in music and being a drummer is pretty cool, and there's a whole sort of element of the rock and roll life and all that sort of stuff. But clearly, you sort of experience the oppression that a comedian tends to experience early on in life.
Sure, yeah.
And I just wonder because a drummer sort of sits back at the back of the band and plays the beat.
Yeah.
How did you manage to? And it's very rare for like a drummer to work their way to the front. So how did you manage to get to talk to the audience from going from bands and being a drummer?
I mean, I think when I'm playing the bands, it's my safe place to be in. I know what I'm doing. I'm in 4 bands at the moment, so I'm working
in the drums, as you say.
As a drummer. And I get behind the kit, and the pressure's on Vicky, our singer, to do the patter and stuff. And if I'm having a bad day, say I'm hungover or something, or if if something hasn't gone well for me personally, or whatever, I can still get behind the kit, and no one will know the difference. I think when you're doing comedy, obviously it's much different because your emotions are laid raw. Ultimately, I started doing comedy to impress a girl who wasn't impressed, but I never I absolutely really not impressed at all. And I ended up in a really big room at the Fringe, like 100 capacity venue, even though no one knew. I certainly wasn't a name. I'm still not, and I was getting about 7 people a day in this 100 capacity room. I just died on my arse every single day. I remember one day thinking, if I had a good show, this would be amazing. Instead, I had a show which was about the Lightning Seeds, a Britpop band called Things Could Be Marvellous. That was my show there, and so it was, so I kind of got the bugs from it. I was thinking, yeah, okay. And I remember waiting behind a curtain as the audience walked in, thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm at my comfort zone, but I can do whatever I want with them. They've come here for a reason because they like the title. I've got them for an hour. This is actually really exciting, isn't it? And
so you just sort of improvised it.
Well, I scripted it, but I'm terrible at learning lines. So it was, I think I had 12 bullet points that I had to hit for the show to work, which was sort of scribbled on a post-it note in the corner somewhere. And so I knew how to end the show, I knew how to start it, and in the middle bit it was just me trying to get to the end. And the reviews were lovely for that because it was truly, I mean, I can't remember most of it. There's one nice line in the whole thing, I think, but everyone seemed to enjoy it apart from me. I'll come on stage again, I've got away with it again. Next year I'll write something proper, and it'll be really, so I then sort of went away and sort of spent a long time writing some stuff I'd be proud of, and then no one liked that show, so that's just, you can't judge it, can you?
I like how you go from like writing a comprehensive script to then a couple of bullet points and then just down to words and then actually maybe just lettered.
Yeah,
it might just be prompts.
This is the punchline. You've got an hour to get there.
Oh man, did you end up dating this girl?
Well, I'm not entirely sure we ever dated. I mean, she came to Edinburgh with me. This is a long time ago now, but she came to Edinburgh with me, and so I think we might have been dating. I'm not. I don't know what crosses dating. So that's not even too crude about things, but I think there was elements of dating, but at the same time, she didn't really like me. So it's a strange one, isn't it? I think we split about 3 or 4 days into a 3-week run, and then I got drunk with my mate Carl, and I drank lots of whiskey, and then the next day I had to go and do the show, and I did the whole thing with a CD player because I'm old school, and the CD stopped working that day, and I was in a really bad mood, and so I was in such a bad way. I took the CD out the player and threw it across the room and shouted, "Every day it does this," and I was basically a breakdown on stage, and the audience loved that. They thought that was the character, and it was by far the most successful day. And so the next day I tried to do the same thing again, but they could see that I was acting it rather than being genuine, and it didn't work at all. It's just a man throwing CDs across the room. That's not an act, is it? So,
that's so annoying.
It is, isn't it? But no, it didn't work out with her. I mean, it's all worked out, in life, should we say? So that's cool. But I used to get a lot of material out being single as well. That was most of my act. And so, I met my girlfriend last January, and it's totally buggered up what I do. I've got to be honest. She's lovely, but I've had to.
It just dried up the comedy.
Totally, yeah. The awkward loser thing is great, and now I'm just content, and no one wants to hear that. So, yeah. I mean, last year at Edinburgh, I did a song called "I'm Disgusting," and it was a list of all my flaws. And the point being, that if my girlfriend ever sees this routine and she sticks with me after this, there's little things like, I used to have an ant's nest in my car. Genuinely, at one point, it was red ants, pretty cool. And I went for a phase of just not using cutlery or plates even. Everything was from a packet, and I just like the idea of never washing up and stuff like that. And it's just, and I used to buy Scotch eggs, but not bother with the egg. I just love the coating. But she's seen this routine. She's still with me, so it's cool.
But what's happened is that you're in a relationship, but you're still living like a bachelor, because that's exactly how I imagine I would live. Out of a packet, and it's no surprise that a lot of your set is about your love for Guinness's pasties.
Because, it's amazing.
because it is a staple food for comedians.
Obviously it's dinner at 2 a.m, isn't it? I've got more mileage than I should do out of Guinness's.
It's 2 a.m, there's a 24-hour garage open. What do they have? Guinness's pasties. All right, it's going to be one of those.
It's totally my life. Someone said the other day after a show I did, I said, I love your on-stage persona. I was like, it's not a persona. Genuinely, this is my life. This is, I do eat Guinness's, I do talk really fast, I'm genuinely quite excited. I don't go on stage and and then just do that. So if you
haven't already realised, listeners, he does speak very fast. But on the iTunes Apple podcast app, you can slow it down by 50%. So whilst my voice might sound like I'm doing slow motion, for him it would just sound normal
voice. Yeah. I think it's like I overwrite everything I do as well. So my new Edinburgh show this year is called Paul Richards Talks Too Fast, which I'm quite excited, and I'm doing my last 4 Edinburgh shows, but in 1 hour. So it's 4 hours worth of content, and it's like, just blast it all out. And
but then that's the thing, isn't it, though? That you clearly, you speak very fast, but then that means you've got to fill up an hour. Is a lot harder for you, because you've got to speak really fast, so you're going to have a lot more content. Whereas someone like James Acaster, who takes his time over one joke and could take 10 minutes before he gets to a punchline, because he does it all very slowly and very relaxed. He doesn't need any material. He just needs 4 jokes and he can fill up an hour just like that.
I think James has more confidence. I've met James. I did a show with him before, and he's a lovely man. And but he knows what he's doing, and he's very assured, like, I'm good at this, and this is my thing. Whilst I'm like, don't lose the room. So it's gotta, quick, get them for another one. Quick, keep it moving. Else I get bored. Or was that me just getting bored? I don't know.
I had to really. I've always historically spoke fast, because again, I always think that the quicker I can get, because I was feared being on stage, whether it was music, whether it was acting. I just absolutely feared it, and I think it was part of the reason why I did it, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And I think that, like, with that, I just try to just fire it all out as quickly as possible, because the quicker I get through this, the quicker I can go and have a beer and get away.
And so you've done it, and boast to Facebook on friends on Facebook saying, "I just done a gig tonight, amazing,type of thing." And it's it is weird though. We had a show in Manchester on Sunday, so it did last year's Edinburgh show, and there's 128 people came in a 300 capacity room, so nowhere near sold out. But really, and I never just watched them walk in, thinking, "Why, what are you here? And what am I going to do? An hour and a half to entertain them?" And that's totally out of my comfort zone, So, and it worked fine, but it's that adrenaline rush, isn't it? And that's they've paid £12 to see this shit, and it's kind of we've got them,
Well, really, they're getting 4 hours of comedy for the price of 1 hour. So.
Exactly, they've done well out of this, haven't they? And I've worked hard. If there's a big crowd like that, I run around a lot, and I kind of make sure that they're getting entertained. But,
unfortunately, we had a pallet for a stage at my comedy club, but. It was a very small one as well.
No, that's fine. It kind of it was good for me. I think to learn how to stand still for a change. So, yeah.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy performing. I'm just saying before I get that that last minute kind of self doubt, and I think, what happens if it all goes wrong? But then I get on stage and I think, these guys are here now. For the next 10, 20, 30 minutes for an hour, they're going to be listening to everything I say. So I have a huge amount of power right now. Exactly. And I can say pretty much whatever I want. And either I'm going to get laughs, I'm going to fall flat, or I'm just going to get oohs and ahs of like, oh, that was a bit over.
And what's the worst that can happen as well? I mean, I've had so many bad gigs. I mean, that sort of 3 years ago, I went on the run.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong indeed is, but yeah, 3 years ago, I toured a show and I was doing really unconventional venues, and they were expecting jokes, and that wasn't
weird. A comedy show.
I know, exactly. And it was like one night I turned up and I sent them the poster of the tour. I was like, one man and a cajon, like a little box drum, and awkward man for an hour and a half, lovely storytelling comedy. And they didn't put that poster up, they just put comedy night here tonight for an hour and a half. I was like, no, don't do that. That changes the expectation. And it was by far one of the worst gigs of my life, and I got a whole hour of content out of that one night. I did a show about the show, how bad it was, but they didn't kill me. And
they didn't kill you?
They didn't kill me. I had to physically run out of the venue, and I cut the show short. I think I did 23 minutes out of the hour and a half I was booked to do, and I ran out of the venue, and I ran for 12 miles to get away from this village in North Yorkshire. It was one of the worst nights of my life, but I'm still alive, and I'm still telling the tale about it. And I think that's and so. Ultimately you go on stage and you're thinking, this is horrible, it's really, but actually it's illegal for them to kill you or to hurt you. So it's
So you're now fundamentally. I mean, I know I didn't pay you to come to my comedy club, but
I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. So
you are a pro now, so you are being
totally
paid for it.
I'm totally freelance, and the money is unpredictable, should we say? I think we did Newcastle and Manchester last weekend. Newcastle out of the profit, because I had some singers with me, because that helps back me up. Every comedian should have a choir, and I think I made £11 profit out of that one, which that's a long way to go. And to work for an hour and a half on stage in Newcastle, but then in Manchester we made considerably more. I won't go into figures, but it's more than I've ever been paid for anything ever. And I think this does work, doesn't it? And it's you just have to work really hard, and kind of just live in a state of panic constantly. But that's where material comes from.
So have you already got a house that you own?
My girlfriend owns a house.
You own a house, okay?
Yeah, so I'm technically her lodger. But it's a lovely little house, and it's all good. And she's she's quite relaxed. I mean, I was 6 days late with the rent the other day, so but she's fine with that. She always gets it within the month. It's fine, isn't it? She's very sweet. So, yes, I'm very lucky. Yeah.
At least you realise it. Well, I mean, one of the things I would be reluctant to go fully freelance is purely before I've bought a house. I know it'd be almost impossible to buy a house with freelance, like the precarious. If you put comedian on or musical comedian on your CV, on your sort of application,
or even put on car insurance, they won't insure you. I mean, I think that's why, because I do a little bit of drum teaching as well, so I teach drums, and I think that's my safety net. And if people ask, I'm a teacher, but I'm only doing that for probably less than 15 hours a week. I'm in a couple of schools, including my old school, which is a bit weird, and that's a little bit of safety net money, isn't it?
That's good. That's good.
And there's plenty more of it as well to come if I need it, so that's quite nice.
And just so the listeners know, the reason why insurance for comedians is so high is because people like James Acaster are awful drivers, and when they first learned to drive they had like 20-30 different crashes where they didn't die and no one got killed, but ever since he became well known, comedians, if you put comedians down on your car insurance, it's because of James Acaster.
And it's also just the amount of miles we do as well. And
that's true.
I've had my car since November, and it's broken down twice already because it's an awful car. Don't buy a French car, seriously. It's just the worst car ever. But I've done 22,000 miles in it already, and it's only February now as we're recording this, so and that's just zigzagging around gigs, isn't it, and stuff. So,
however, if any French manufacturers would like to give us some money, I would happily speak very highly of them for this podcast.
Yes, and also, I said we got French cars. My car is 17 years old, and I paid £500 for it. So, as a mechanic, as the AM man said the other day, it has a right to go wrong at this age. So, it doesn't fill me with confidence, does it? So, but awful car, terrible.
Billy Connolly, when he first started, he always started as a musician and a banjo player, and he played in a band. And he ended up just sort of more and more, each time they performed, he'd have a section where he'd speak right?
Yeah.
And then that section where he'd speak to the audience got longer and longer. So then it actually became Billy Connolly just talking and then playing a couple of songs, and that's when he split from the band and became his stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I think also I sort of tour around my little box drum, and it's very much my safety net as well. But when I first did my Edinburgh show about 4 years ago, I think it was, I was doing a show at the Red Bull in Newnham in Cambridge, and Rory Maguire was in the audience, who's a wonderful comedian, a lovely bloke. I was a bit scared of him when he turned up, but he bought tickets for the show. It was like a £5 or whatever, and he turned up, and there was only sort of 2 songs in the whole hour, and he said to me afterwards, he's really lovely. He goes, I really enjoyed that. I can see it's a work in progress, but it's a few months to the Fringe. That's cool. He said, but at the moment you're just another sort of awkward, slightly middle-class white man moaning about being single for an hour. I said, you're really good at that, but there's a lot of you doing it out there. I said, but this drum thing that you do, and he mentioned the idea of being like the Tim Minchin of drums.
How long ago was this?
It's about 4 years ago now.
4 years ago,
yeah.
Okay.
And he mentioned the idea of like being the Tim Minchin. If you do more drum stuff, that will help you stand out. And actually, I realised then that you can write a set list on the back of the drum and no one can see that.
That's true,
it's really cool. It's a little thing, and it's perfectly...
Same with the guitar, you could write it on the top, couldn't you?
Yeah, totally. And I sort of certainly realised that the weekend shows, I brought more percussion to the shows as well. Get the audience to be more percussionists, and they got something else to do. And actually, you formed a band on stage, and it kind of helps if they don't find you funny, at that point, because they're enjoying themselves anyway, and they've got their money's worth from hitting stuff, and hitting cowbells and shakers and stuff like that. And I'm effectively giving them a drum lesson on stage with jokes added, and there's just so many safety nets, isn't there?
Yeah. So did you do that as a breakaway from the bands that you were in, or did you start trying to do that whilst you're still in the band?
Oh, totally. I'm still in the bands now and stuff, and I think sometimes my band members don't really understand why I have to do this as well. I think there's a sense. I mean, certainly when it comes to we're booking tours up with the bands, that it's like, why is Paul doing so much other stuff? Isn't he happy with the amount of drumming he's doing already? But so no, I've always had the two running parallel, which is I think like 2 years ago I did something like 312 gigs in 1 year or something stupid like that.
Wow.
Just comedy and music. I was just never in, But last year things slowed down a little bit, but I'm doing better gigs now.
You're doing better gigs?
Yeah, but less of them. I think that's the thing. So,
are you finding now that you're getting your own audience rather than, because I just like you say that you Rory McGrath saw you perform and he said if you do a bit more of the drums and unique. So. Well, so I performed a lot on the open mic circuit as a musician.
Yeah.
When I turned to stand up and I do the same open mic nights, there's a slight anger in the audience that someone has come on stage to start talking to them.
Yes.
Because they want to listen to music. They're there for a music open mic night and they want to see new acts of musicians.
Yeah, they want to hear songs rather than
so then
shouting at them.
I've got 5 minutes or 10 minutes to try and get them on my side, and either I'm going to absolutely fall flat because I don't want to listen to some idiot talk, but I guess when you started out with the open mic nights doing the music stuff and the comedy stuff, you're kind of like, well, okay, if they don't like the comedy, I've got drums here, I can just play a song.
No, totally. And there's certain nights, especially in that horrible tour a couple of years ago that I did, that I think, I've got a nice career elsewhere. Why am I still putting myself... why am I still doing this? Why do I have to put myself through... Why do I have to lose money to do this? But I think I'm gradually doing better gigs for both of them. But yeah.
So have you're getting your own audience now?
Yeah, totally. Especially Fringe-wise. I mean, around the rest of the country, no one knows who I am. I think my show has a nice title and people can, it's the complete history of pop music in an hour. I think that sells in itself without people knowing who the host is. Although there's been a few people who have come back to see it a couple of times, which is lovely. In Edinburgh, I'm getting a lot of repeat people now, which is lovely. Every year, I'll sort of notice. We're sort of talking probably less than 20 people when I'm there for a month. So they trickle in. But they come in every year to see what I do and to see the progress, which is bad because I can't repeat stuff then. Because they want a new show every year as well, which is the only downside to that. But I'm gradually building a following, just nowhere near as quickly as I'd like to. But,
do you have them on a mailing list?
I don't. No, I don't have much on YouTube either. There was I had a weird thing a few years back. I really don't like the internet just because of what damage it can do. And so I was on a really bad tour, and then a TV station, I won't name it, do I do a little pilot thing, like do a 10 minutes of comedy. I said, yeah, sure. I said, it won't be broadcast at all. So just do 10 minutes. We're trying out the cameras. It won't go anywhere at all. Just try out new material. We'll have 15, 20 people in the audience. I was like, okay, lovely. So I did this show. I tried out new stuff, and it was really bad. Like really, nothing was working at all. So halfway through, I said to the audience, this isn't working. Let's do some old stuff that definitely works. And I kind of reverted back to my safe territory. Yeah. But then it was broadcast in Finland. And it ended up on YouTube. Because some kid watched it and basically put it as like the worst comedy he's ever seen and put the whole thing on YouTube.
Oh, no.
And it was quite funny how a 15-year-old boy from Finland, it took so much effort into that. But I was Googling myself, and it came up as one of the top results. I was like, whoa, hang on now. It's been deleted now, luckily. But I mean, at the time, I was thinking, this is harsh, isn't it? Because I've done a lot of good stuff. But it's like the one bad night, well, not one bad night, but a bad night is the one that ends up online as what people see as your thing, It's,
I mean, that's the issue. I mean, it's a very different world now, being in the comedy world or even the music industry, because everyone now has the right to a view, So, So if they see something they don't like that you've done on the internet, they have a right to say it, and it's easy for people to say stuff.
But we will do it as well, I think, and from an audience point of view. We're still audience members, and I'll often look up comedians who I don't know. If there's one bad thing up there, I go, no, I'm not going to book them. And it's just harsh, isn't it? But
but then the thing is, comedy is slightly different to music and stuff in that sense. When you've got a room full of people sitting there in the audience listening to someone talk and tell jokes, there's more opportunities for people to feel very awkward very quickly when they're watching a comedian perform than someone who's tuning a guitar on or playing an out-of-tune song slightly. I think I find it easier to listen to music go badly than I do watching a comedian do stuff that I just...
Especially like if you're doing like a night with maybe sort of 10 people in the audience, and it's really hard to leave. But and you've seen a comedian dying on stage, and I used to enjoy that as an audience member. It's kind of like a car crash thing, isn't it? But these days I genuinely feel for the comedian, and I want them to be okay. I'll often buy them a pint afterwards, whatever, and sort of say it's all good. It's okay,
but then is that helping them? Is it by saying, oh, that was really good, here's a pint, actually helping them? Do they need actually a bit of tough love, and you just say, stop putting your money into this, stop wasting your money? Like you're obviously a very funny person, you obviously have some great material, you're obviously very good at writing, you don't necessarily have to be on stage to do that comedy.
And it's
because I see comedians that have got great jokes, but sometimes they come to the punchline and then they just back out. They have a massive flooding feeling of like self-doubt just before they say it. And then just back out, and then they lose that punchline. Whereas if they got behind it and actually punched the line...
If they believe in what they're doing. But surely the way around that is stage time, and they have to go through that elusive 100 gigs to start with. I mean, I tend to do about 100 gigs in Edinburgh every year.
I'll come to
that. So sometimes if you see enough value in a person, if they're struggling, we're thinking, he could be good in 2 years' time.
You hope that.
Yeah, hope that. I mean, but, sometimes you watch people and think, that's just terrible. Give up now. But, and that's... it's harsh, isn't it? But,
this podcast certainly isn't for defaming other comedians. And
no, of course not.
And I mean, Paul will agree, and I still die on stage, and I'm sure Paul still dies on stage. And I know that Stuart Goldsmith recently, he did a gig and absolutely died on stage, and he's doing really well now.
Yeah, so Stuart's lovely. Yeah,
you're never immune from dying on stage. But I guess what we're saying is that there's a few comedians that have been at it for like 10 years, because 10 years is like the mark of where it takes that long to get good.
Yeah.
Totally. But then you see someone after 10 years and they look like it's the first time they've done it. Then you start to think, try something different.
Yeah, just move your creative skills to a different area, maybe.
It's very hard to tell someone that, though, and it's very hard to realise that yourself.
But also I think they probably know, if they're doing 10 years, they probably don't know, do they? But I mean, there's been many a time which I've got off stage going, okay, just be a writer, because write shows for other people, write theatre. That's what you do. You're trained as a writer. You're a drummer and a writer. That's great. And then you have a good gig, and suddenly like, oh no, this is my And generally last week was the first time in about a couple of months which I wanted to do stand up again. I had two good gigs in a row, and I was just buzzing about it, thinking, no, this is and it's really dangerous when it happens though, because I wasn't going to do a stand up show in Edinburgh this year. I've got 3 shows already. A cabaret show, my history pop show, which is kind of comedy, but I've got a new play, and I've got a spoken word show. Then I had 2 good gigs, and I drunkenly applied for an Edinburgh stand-up show as well. And my grammar is amazing when I'm pissed. I realise that I write really good applications. So I woke up the next day and thought, whoa, okay, I'd book me. This is great, isn't it? Yeah,
I should try that.
Yeah, it's good because I think you care more when you're drunk as well. You kind of you redraft it.
You're a bit looser as well in what you're saying. You feel a bit more creative, I guess.
Yeah, and you're kind of more confident. You big yourself up a bit more, which I wouldn't do normally. So.
I mean, I spend every weekend editing these podcasts to get them out, and by towards the end of the day of editing them, I'm absolutely smashed out my brain. So if you ever hear any parts of the podcast that make absolutely no sense at all, it's because I'm pissed out my brain because I don't like editing. And if you listeners give me some money to the podcast, then I can hire an editor to do it for me, and then I could save my liver. So you'd actually be saving my life.
That's for a $5, that's pretty cool. If everyone gives a $5 that listens to this, then
it sounds like a charity appeal.
You live to your 80s, maybe.
I consider myself a good cause.
Yep, totally.
Tell me about the tours you did with the comedy, with the music. Sorry, originally.
So the music stuff, the band that I most played, a band called Fred's House. It's my most regular band. We've been around for a long time, and I joined them just after they'd done what is called the toilet circuit, as it were. So sort of the smaller venue type thing. We sort of built a nice reputation. Luckily, before I joined, and so
I wish I could get as far as the toilet circuit.
There's a lot of bad gigs in the early days. I've had to go through the first sort of 2 or 3 years even of.
I've got a hole in the ground for a stage.
So the tours have got better and better, and small art centres is generally our thing now, where the money isn't huge, but you get a small plate of sandwiches in a dressing room, and the lights go down, you walk on stage and you think you've made it. Just don't look at the bank balance afterwards. I think that's the thing, It's a lovely gigs. We've toured China. We did just over 2 weeks over there, which was amazing, but really hard work at the same time. It was a well organised tour, but they really work you hard.
The Chinese are very good work ethic, haven't they?
Yeah, and then we were treated like superstars over there because we're English, and that's kind of all it took. And it's we were doing 2 shows a day, and we were just plied with booze the whole time and staying in 5-star hotels. We never really saw the hotels because you had to go up to the next show each day, and so you're staying in these amazing places, but you're only getting 4 hours sleep in them, and treated like royalty the whole time, and played sort of 1,000 people a night, sometimes more than that. And then we got back and played Northampton to 23 people. It was the most reality check you can imagine. We got back on the Monday, I think it was, and then on the Thursday night we were playing this really a normal gig, should we say, and it was a shock to the system, but as a reminder that we're not the Beatles. We just had a lucky break over there. It was more like a holiday, an experience, how the other side live, isn't it? So we're still touring, and we've had to have a bit of a change of lineup recently, but we've got some gigs up in April, and they're nice gigs, and generally as a musician I'm more successful than I am as a comedian. I've realised that, but but I enjoy both. I think I couldn't not do one, not do the other, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of.
Do you feel that one could impact the other? I mean, I have a pseudonym for the performance, and it is not my real name. Like, it's not my surname's different.
Yeah.
I separate two different things. Like, I write quite straight, serious dramas and stuff with a different name, and then I use Luke Anthony is my comedy name because I don't want one to impact the other. Do you find that?
I think in retrospect I should have done that.
But it's too late.
It is too late. But also I get concerned when people come and enjoy the band. They look me up and go, "Oh, he's also a comedian." They don't find me funny. Then suddenly I don't like the band anymore. There's a real kind of there's an awkwardness to that, isn't there? So you tell me what, I should have done that. Most of the time it works. So people know me as like the comedy drama person who's kind of reliable at both. Reliable, I think it's totally where I'm at.
Reliable.
Yeah. So if anything else, just totally. Consistently reliable.
He was late this morning, but he did turn up. So
no, I do message say I've just woken up. I'm very sorry, but
I couldn't go as far as to say diligent, but I could say reliable.
Yes, well, I got lost up by the tractor, and it's crazy. And then I couldn't find your house when I got here, but that's all good. But in retrospect, I could have separated things, and also working as a drum teacher, I don't want the parents or the kids that I teach to know that I do comedy, because if they see something online in which I've sworn, for example, which I don't really swear,
no.
But if the odd word for emphasis, but then if I'm teaching their 7-year-old child, they probably don't want that. But at the same time, they want a drum teacher who's witty and kind of makes things light-hearted, because learning is fun. Yeah, so it's a real balancing act, and one I haven't really quite got right yet. But But certainly, I like doing both. I enjoy doing both, and it's mostly juggling my schedule as well. So the band would come through. Can we do this festival? No, Paul's doing the Buxton Fringe or the Derbyshire. So there's a lot of apologising that goes on. But we kind of
you just live your life feeling guilty all the time.
All the time. I literally just say sorry is my default word. But that's what my new Edinburgh show is about. Is about a guy who's just running late for everything, and I think that's just a really nice. People think it's fiction, but it's not at all.
I mean, are you? But then surely your cover will be blown if you turn up on time for that gig.
Yeah, I mean that one's in a paid venue, and I think they have to kind of turn up low. Let them think it's fiction. I think that's the thing. But
I don't know. Are you going to open with? Well, this is the first gig I've ever turned up on time too. But
possibly. I mean, I think you can sort of milk the awkwardness. So last year I had a lovely show at the Swindon Fringe, which I won an award for. So I'm technically award winning, and even Swindon Fringe still counts. And I had a lovely. Show there, and it started off with me struggling to turn off my MP3 player, which was genuine. I didn't know, it locked itself. I couldn't get the music off to start the show, and they thought that was the act, and they loved it. And so I sort of said, "That's end the show for this year." Now, I think just being rubbish at life helps, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Well, you pray for it, don't you? Because I get the feeling that like. You started out as a musician. I'm going to take myself seriously now.
Totally.
I'm going to be a serious musician. I'm going to be a serious music teacher. But then life just keeps kicking you in the arse. And things keep happening to you, and you keep walking into weird scrapes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And you couldn't possibly not be a comedian, because where else are you going to have that outlet?
Absolutely, and it's, even like being settled now and all that stuff. There was I didn't realise
too happy,
but I didn't know my girlfriend had two cats. She has two black cats, and I thought it was just one that moved really fast. I never knew that, and so instantly, even though I'm in a happy place, I'm still freaked out. I was like, "How'd that cat get here? It's a different cat." Okay, but it must be. And
so how long did you go? Like, did you? What? So you're telling me that you were signing for like 6 months to a year, thinking that this cat was just moving fast.
Yeah.
At what point did you challenge us? Hang on a minute. There's something a bit odd about this cat.
I genuinely saw both of them in the room at the same time. That was when I realised.
So that whole time that you hadn't seen them.
Well, the cats are fast. It's a small house. It's kind of. It's.
I know you're tall, but
and they zap around, don't they? Like chasing mice and stuff. And it's kind of. And they've got similar names. And I lose track. There's Coco and Cleo, and it's
I'm dumbfounded. That's got me. That because I said earlier that James Acast is the reason that comedians have really high insurance. I'm starting to think that if you can't see cats, I wonder if you can see deers and other cars and other vehicles.
I mean, I drive so so that
these cars are moving so fast. I think there's just one car on the road.
I do laps around me.
Oh man.
No. I mean, I drive a battered old automatic, so I can't even get up to speed half the time. I think that's the thing, So I'm a safe driver. Anyone insurance companies listen to this? So I drive like I had a few points on my licence for years back from doing shows, and I got technically caught 3 times by the same camera, 3 in 3 nights, and they all arrived in the post on the same day. So I did a speed awareness course and I got 6 points. And that was years ago, and it's all cleared now. Luckily, actually, we'll be clear in March, so that's cool. It'll be 4 years in March. They're gone by then, aren't they? I don't know what they're going is, but I was doing a tour, but I was so skint that I couldn't afford accommodation, and so I was coming home every night. So I did Leeds, I did Newcastle. I was touring my own bed, and I was driving back every night back to the little room that I was renting at the time. And when it gets like 2 a.m. after having done another show to 6 people in Leeds, I was and you're on the home straight, you're on the A14, but there was roadworks going on, and I just got caught a few times. The
average speed cameras. Or?
Yeah, average speed, but it went down from 70 to 50, and I didn't notice. I was thinking, it's Histon, that's fine. I'm nearly home now. I need to carry on going. And then 3 in 3 days arrived in the post, and I actually genuinely called the police and said, "Look, is this it? Is there any more to come?" and they looked up at me and said, "No, I think you're done now." I said, "Yeah, I feel like I am." It was a really.
I knew this guy. I knew this guy who was a bit of a boy racer in his car, and he drove pretty too fast. And in the space of like driving from coming onto a slip road to the next slip road, the next exit, and the next junction.
Yeah.
He had lost his license because he had gone through like 6 like speed cameras, and he got all 12 points within the space of like a few minutes.
It can be done. I mean, I'm certainly not in that bracket. I mean, I get done for really unglamorous speeds. I got done for doing like 57 and a 50 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And you see the other guys in like their Audis just blasting by, and thinking, I was in like a Fiesta. I could barely go. This doesn't feel fair somehow. But the law's the law, and I'm sure, I probably deserve those. And all the time I've been driving, I've managed to get away with it up to that point. So yeah, it's. But no, I've been driving very, very safely. So I think I'm a safe driver. I mean, I'm always one of those drivers that is it is so slow it's almost unsafe. To the point that people have to overtake me. But
oh man, I won't be sending this to an insurance company.
No, please don't. But,
However, if they would like to sponsor this podcast,
please do. Yes,
I would love to say really nice things about them. So you told me a bit about your tour you did with your music. How about? I mean, you say you're constantly on tour. So
yeah.
Are you now touring you're still touring your comedy tour? Or?
Yeah. So I mean, I've made a mistake before of touring a really unconventional fringe show to non-fringe audiences, and just a stream of really bad gigs. But the show I've had for a couple of years, called The Complete History of Pop Music in an Hour, is just really accessible. It's a big sing-along show. It's a funny show. It shouldn't work, but it was an accident of a show in the first place because I lost the band that I was supposed to be in it, so I ended up having a choir, and so it's basically me and drunk comedians getting through 70 songs and as quickly as possible, and me getting panicked about the time and so that's on tour. And it will continue to go on tour for as long as I want it to. So that's doing Edinburgh for a third year this year as well. So just done Newcastle and Manchester. We've got Belfast and Dublin coming up as well. So nice big art centres as well. It's cool. And we're in Northampton tonight, which I'm looking forward to, and Guildford and Southampton and Colchester. So that's cool. So it's
so you booked up like all week, every week, or usually, or
most of the time. I mean, January and February, I'm kind of a bit quieter because I think there's 6 gigs this month, so proper big gigs, but there's still only the 6 gigs. Also have to keep some time aside for the band. I think at the moment I kind of feel like I'm not taking on more stuff because the band are about to fill up my diary, and I've got Barnstaple Fringe Festival, which is a lovely theatre fest. So my shows down there. So I'm doing 4 nights down there, which is nice. I'm in residency in the venue as well. Swindon Fringe, Greater Manchester, Reading, Buxton. There's 8 fringes before Edinburgh anyway.
Oh wow! So are you doing like almost like Edinburgh previews, are they? Or?
Yeah, they're just generally. I think that they're open about that themselves. That they're not quite Edinburgh, but it's a smaller Edinburgh Fringe. So but they're good places to get reviews and the odd sort of nomination as well, because when you get to Edinburgh you just get lost in a sea of other shows, so it's nice to be award winning before you get there, if you know. It kind of helps. Just gigging constantly. Once I've got my new shows together, I will do more of them as well. I'm still writing stuff for this year's Edinburgh because it's only February, and I'll panic book a tour in July. I do a lot of house gigs as well. I enjoy doing shows at people's houses. It's a really nice way. If people can't be asked to go out, I'll come to them, and it's and just do shows in people's front rooms.
Oh right, wow.
So really,
wow.
It's I know Aidan Goatley, he's a good friend of mine. He's doing quite a lot of that as well, and it's a really nice way to try out material, and if they don't like it, well, they haven't had to move, so you're already in a good place, so it's I'll probably book up I've got a run of 7 house gigs before my new show opens in April, just so I can rehearse it, because else it's me in the house.
I've never thought about doing a house gig, to be honest.
It's lovely. I did one at Nessie's house actually. So, it was a
really?
And that was lovely last night. A really hot night. I remember I did 2 hours, which is a lot for her audience. They sat through it, bless them. But it was me. And there was like Bim Bidet, bless him, he loved it, but most people didn't. I think there was a night in which it was just too hot and uncomfortable, but no one left, and I needed to work some stuff out, and so I got more out of it than they did.
That sounds like you're holding comedians and audience members against their will.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know how. I don't think you can cover that up with comedy and say that's legal.
Well, I did. They knew where the exit was.
Did you get some good? knew where the exit was. Yeah, for health and safety, I had to point out the fire exit.
Yes.
And also the escape if you can't handle my comedy anymore.
Yes.
Did you get some good comments?
I did. There's lots of comments, and ultimately, from the 2 hours that I did there, I think there's a nice 48 minutes of content from that, which is good.
That's pretty good.
I knew that most of it worked already. I was just sort of self-editing, isn't it? But again, you can't. My girlfriend, bless her, she's lovely, but I can't do the show to her every night in the house. So I think there's a sense that the novelty wears off, and I think she's cool because she's not a cheerleader. I don't think she even likes sometimes what I do, and it's
she's not there to be your fan, though, is she?
No, I think it's a separate world, isn't it? So I can't just rehearse at home all the time. So I would go to people's houses and do shows with the note being that this is new stuff. So be kind, and if you don't like it, this isn't my best thing. So yeah.
You just want 3 cups of tea and biscuits, don't you? That's
absolutely, and it works every time.
So do you record yourself when you perform just to get your own?
Sometimes, yeah. When it's new,
because you said that, because one of my fears is that if I improvise and come up with some dynamite thing accidentally, like the time you said you were playing music on your MP3, and then they thought that was part of the act.
Yeah.
If it's quite easy to forget such things or how you did those things, but by
I write stuff down straight away after every gig.
Yeah.
Generally, as a rule. So and I know if stuff doesn't work, if as soon as I'm saying it out loud, even if they're laughing, I'm thinking that can go. So it's and I think the show's always improved, but I don't necessarily record every gig unless it's really new. Then I think sometimes if I just sort of did a show to my wall at home and did an hour of it, I wouldn't know if it works or not.
No,
if word for word the same show and they're laughing, I'll still know which bits don't work. Just actually you can tell if they're being polite and stuff. I think that's why people record stuff, aren't they? Just to judge the room sometimes and to hear it back. Yeah. So it's a little thing. We had a lovely gig in Manchester last weekend in which I said to an audience member, "Do you want to play the congas?" And she misheard me and she did a conga. She started jumping around, and I thought, I'm having that. And so we let her do the conga, and the whole room started doing a conga, and it's this really bizarre twist to the evening I wasn't expecting. But if the audience was having a good time, it kind of gave me a few minutes to reassess where I was at and think, okay, so what happens now? Just reset the show. They're having a good time. I'm still getting paid. It's lovely. And but then now that's in the show indefinitely. And so I wrote that down as soon as I got back to the hotel. I was like, yeah, that's cool. And so
So when it doesn't work,
yeah,
when it doesn't work, because you are obviously going from strength to strength, and you've been doing this for a while, and clearly great at what you do. But when it doesn't work, how do you pick yourself back up to carry on doing? Because you spoke about how like you do a couple of gigs and they went amazing, and you're like, I should do comedy. Do comedy.
Yeah, totally.
What about on the flip side of things?
I mean, I'm really about this. I think a lot of comedians are. I do beat myself up more than I should do.
Yeah.
I think if you know the show works, if I'm touring a show which has done well for a while, and then people don't like it 2-3 nights in a row, which they have every right to not like it. I'm very Marmite, I get that, but so well, enough people do like it for me to know it works. If you're doing a new hour and it's new and no one's liked it for the first week, that's where there's issues. And generally, like most people, I consider quitting all the time. I think that's last year I sort of said, okay, I'm doing 100 more gigs and I'm done. That was my thing.
Did 100 more and you're still doing it?
Yeah, totally. So because I still enjoy it, and I think I may have some gigs I didn't enjoy, or I think it's a thing at Fringe last year where everyone was younger than me, and that started to annoy me. Which is I'm getting older, and the guys who are more successful than me are younger and better, and I think I'm thinking, okay, I could be a playwright, I could be a next Alan Bennett instead. I think that's my
So you start trying to find other routes for you to go into.
Yeah, and I still believe in what I do with comedy, but I don't necessarily have to be doing 10 minutes in 4 hours away, to prove that I'm still a comedian, if you know what I mean. I think writing stuff is still something I do all the time.
It's an outlet, isn't it? You're still being creative.
And so I kind of said, I need to slow down, because I did a show last year in Edinburgh which I wasn't in, but I wrote. So one of my shows was lovely, and I enjoyed having actors as my slaves. They kind of went on stage, and they, every day they performed amazingly for me for my show. And I
did you feed them?
I paid them, so slaves. You know what I mean? But they were an amazing cast and wonderful show, and because they had a brilliant director who did a lot of work on the show and made my words look better. And I was just so grateful because I got so much credit. for it, and I didn't have to do anything. I could lie in, and they were on stage doing my work. And I'm thinking, why am I not doing this all the time? You know, I don't have to go and die on my ass on stage and sweat my guts out for an hour when actually there's other people willing to talk my words for me. That's great, isn't it? But then I missed not doing it, and so 100 more gigs. That was the plan. But I've lost count now. But
I think the thing is with like writing. Sometimes you write stuff, or you write jokes, or you write routines, and also. I mean, I like yourself. I do a lot of writing. I write bits to sitcoms. I write different sketches.
Yeah.
I can't really try out on stage so much, but sometimes it's really great to be able to write and then just get up on stage and just try this out.
Yeah.
Try a variation of what I've written and see if that works, and then maybe because it can be a pain in the bum to get like actors and people and get cameras and hire this and hire that. Yeah. And actually, you just get on stage and just do a bit.
Yeah, totally. And ultimately, it's maybe we enjoy the struggle.
Yeah, I think so. And then, I think it's an element of like, if you're a natural born performer, you just when I go to a comedy gig and I just see people performing, I'm like, oh, I really want to be up there doing this.
Totally. Yeah.
Even with music, I see music, I think, oh, why haven't I got my guitar with me? I could do a couple of songs.
I mean, I get to the point where I hate going to other people's gigs, especially in music.
You feel like there's an element of jealousy, isn't there?
You're
so lucky to be up there doing that. Why can't I be doing it?
Yeah.
So I think if you write stuff and you direct stuff, because I've done directing as well. Do you think, these guys are reaping all the rewards, they're getting exposure, whereas I have to sit back here and have to bust my balls and write all this stuff and come up with it, and they can just go on, they can get filmed or go on stage and they get all the massive applause, not me. So I'm going to go and do like another 100 gigs and
prove myself. I'm doing this. Ultimately, we want to do everything. I think I want my plays to be going at the Fringe, but I also want to be doing it myself. I want to be a musician, and there's never enough hours in a day, is there? And that's why caffeine exists, isn't it? But going back to your original question, how do I pick myself up? I sometimes I don't. I think that's the thing. But in time, you just gradually go, okay, I'm about to do another gig. And I'm always low until the next gig. And if that gig's a bad gig, then you're still low. But you just need one good night. And I did a show to 6 people on Tuesday night, a night that I run in Shepworth. A lovely little evening. But they were the best 6 people ever.
Oh, right,
I loved it. And I was buzzing from it afterwards. And I got back and I got home and I couldn't sleep because my girl was like, good night. I said, yeah, 6 people. Said, okay. But the other side
doesn't really matter.
No. So they were just an amazing 6, and I ended up staying up to like 2 a.m. just writing more stuff because it works, doesn't it? But then you can do a show to 50 people who hate it, and that's where you get low from it.
It's a risky business, isn't it? It's risky having.
I mean, why do you do this?
It's risky having such dependency on reaction, such dependency on success, or such dependency on that. It's a weird thing, and it's odd. I find it really difficult to speak about comedy and performing and all that sort of stuff with people who don't do it because,
of course,
because they don't quite understand. They don't understand why we do it. I don't think we understand why we do it.
No.
So much we just come up with bullshit reasons to say on a podcast as to that may be popular to the listeners. But it is weird, isn't it? It's a strange thing to it's almost like a form of self-harm or risk to self-harm. When you go on stage, this could go absolutely wrong, and if it goes wrong, I'm going to absolutely beat myself up about it. I'm going to hate myself so much. I'm going to hate life so much, but I'm going to go and do it again anyway because now I need to try and recover from this and prove to myself that I can do it. It's a very strange mentality.
I think both of us will end up doing it forever as well. I can't see it. You don't stop doing it as well.
No.
But going back to what you said earlier about sort of the power that you have on stage as well, and when I'm playing in the band, I don't get nervous at all ever.
No,
because I know what I'm doing as a drummer, and it's almost not my problem. The bands have written the songs. I know I'll play them fine.
Just stay and beat, and it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm doing a professional job for them, and that's awesome. With comedy, I'm so nervous for every show. I'm watching behind the curtain, seeing people walk in, going, "Why? What do you want from me?" And it's but then I'm still the one on stage, and that's the thing, isn't it? And it's that power that we have. It's a strange buzz. When it works, though, it's the best thing in the world. I think that's
absolutely, yeah.
In Newcastle last weekend, we lost 4 people walked out after 10 minutes, and it was a really shaky. It was a 90-minute show, and I was thinking, help. In my head, I turned to my little choir. I was like, how can I salvage this? And I had a guest comedian, and I got her on really early just so I could get off stage for a bit and like reset in my head, thinking how we let her do some. She was a Geordie, so it helped them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was talking a bit too fast. I need to get off stage and go. okay. And then the rest of the show was by far the best we've ever done it.
Yeah.
And those who stayed, which is most of them, first, I think we lost 6 out of the 40. Stats aren't bad. And and they loved every second of it, and it was a great night. And it was one of those, and they couldn't understand why those people walked out, and they ended up having a lock in afterwards, and it was just the best night ever.
Do you know what's interesting about that is that instantly you commented about how many people you lost from the audience.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that self doubt almost.
Yeah, so
we lost 6 people, so we failed. But
yeah, it's 34
but you didn't.
stayed.
They made
34 enjoyed it, but I'm still focusing on those 6. I think
yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah, that
so,
sort of sums it up really. I mean, I think it's really interesting because 34 people still there. 6 people out of 40 people is not that big. And you said you went on to have an amazing night anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, I went on to say, we got through to the interval, and I went to the dressing room, and I was feeling quite low about things, and I was thinking, no one's going to come back for the second half. And actually, James, who was in the choir, he went to the bar, and he came back and goes, Paul, they're loving it. He was, like, really excited about this. He said, you were just doubting it because we've had better reactions in the past.
Yeah.
And I went on stage the second half, and I was really angry. I was like, right, we're doing this, you guys are coming back, so you're going to have a good time, like it or not. And I said, you're going to come to the front now, and we're going to make it into, like, so, because it was a big room and we hadn't sold that many tickets, I think, so it felt awkward. So I got them all to the front row, and I went so far. We overran by 20 minutes in the end because I was enjoying myself so much with them.
Oh, brilliant!
But it kind of felt like a punk gig by the end. It was like, but then the next night we did it to over 100 people in Manchester, and it was word for word the same show, and every one of them loved it.
Yeah,
and I don't understand people anymore. But I mean, that's but
there is no understanding.
There is no understanding because it is literally identical. You know, it's billed as a haphazard shambles or show, but it's really scripted. It's I know where it's heading, and it's they couldn't do a thing wrong that night, and I drove back going, okay, this does work. That's a relief, because I think.
But it worked the night before.
The second half worked, yeah.
Second half worked,
but I'm still dwelling on the first half, and that's because that's what we do, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So I was freaking out at the weekend about how the show is advertised. I think those people who walked out, it wasn't what they thought they were going to get for their money. It was £12 a ticket as well. It's quite a lot, and I think it's a really cracking fiver of a show. I think the show that I thought, I think this is the best £5 you'll ever spend, but £12. And maybe it's been advertised for long stuff, but then apparently there was a row in the bar during the interval about the show, which I thought was, I was oblivious until after the show.
Yeah.
And some people who love the show, and then some people who were trying to get a refund. And the people who love the show were saying, you must have seen what the show is. It's a sing-along show. You didn't want to sing along. Don't have a go at the guy for it. And they were getting really heated. And it's almost like a compliment that they cared that much to have an argument about my show. Whilst I'm just sat in the dressing room with my beer going, I hate this. Why am I doing this? I can make good money out of teaching. I don't need to be doing it.
You mentioned a bit about comedy, going into music, performing your music.
Yeah,
you absolutely love it, and it's easy. You don't get nervous. You just go up and you do it. You go through the motions because you're very confident in it. With comedy, you get very nervous before, and you worry and you get a bit frantic before you go on.
Yeah.
I just wonder what's the last thing either you do or tell yourself before you get on stage.
I generally run the intro to the show before I go on, because I think if you get onto a good footing, if you get that first laugh in early, they feel like they're in safe hands,
and then you feel safe.
Yeah,
as well.
But if they don't laugh at the intro, which happens quite a lot, then you're in trouble. I think because the intro is usually the strongest bit of the show. I think, and then there's points where it peaks again. But I think once you've got them on side, you can afford to let go a little bit and relax. So I'm literally just running lines, and I think, and almost not thinking about the audience too much. I'm going to actor mode basically.
Is that why you do the? You'll have heard earlier in the podcast that I played a bit of his music of him doing that and what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
Is that why you use that?
Yeah, totally.
Is that your first? Is that your intro?
That's my intro for most of the shows, and I give out bad reviews of the show they're about to see, just to lower their expectations. I get weird. I'll give out 4 reviews. 2 of them are good and 2 of them are bad, just to prove like I know this is not to everyone's taste either. And I think that, and if they laugh at that, then you're fine, aren't you? And if they're thinking, oh, we're about to watch a show that no one else has liked,
I've just spent 12 quid on this.
Newcastle, they didn't like that intro, but in Manchester they go, oh, this is gonna be great because this guy's so.
Manchester's particularly good for comedy.
It was really lovely. It was out in Sale. It's a lovely art centre, and it's a Sunday night. It shouldn't have worked, and we'd lost a singer. She didn't die. She had to each a better gig to go to, and so we were down to, my choir was 2 people, and it was billed as me with a choir, and it was 2 mates, and it was one of them was pissed as well, and it was kind of and I'm thinking this should have worked at at all. But actually, in Manchester, it's just glorious, isn't it?
You've written over 25 shows for the Edinburgh Fringe, and I know obviously some of those would be shows that other people performed.
Yeah, totally.
Some would be ones you've done. I mean, and that's incredible. I mean, is Fringe, is that Fringe just the thing that you love doing, Fringe festivals?
Totally. I mean, I lose so much money doing that, as we all do, but I'm really, I'm just addicted to it. It's just, I wouldn't be anywhere else in August at all. I love the drive up. I love the anticipation of how my one's going to go. I love when the venue comes through and gets confirmed. It's usually around this time of year. I've had a few confirmed already, there's a few more on the way. And I love sort of looking up the room beforehand, thinking, okay, where's the sight lines for the audience, like that. Everything about it's amazing. It's I love the camaraderie of my fellow comedian chums. We're all in sort of the same circuit, we're all at the same level, and we all go out together. And it's just amazing, isn't it?
I mean, it can be quite hard to get punters in to see the shows. How much do you do like promotion before you go in, before you perform? Sorry.
I mean, what you mean, like flyering and stuff? Yeah. So I also I don't do well because I don't have time to fly my shows because I'm doing another show. So last year I had my own pamphlet from all my shows in. So I was doing 5 a day, and I had a little booklet I give people, and it sold all the shows in one go. Which is really arrogant to have your own pamphlet. I'm not a Fringe festival, I'm just a performer, but it was my only way of selling all my shows in one and flying once and kind of just getting all the people in. And if they turn to the wrong page, then they go, oh, well, he's doing that show as well, I'll come to that one instead. And that kind of helped a little bit. My numbers have never been great at the Fringe. I generally, the shows pretty much always happen, but if I get to double figures, I'm doing really well. I think that's apart from
it's hard though because it's such a saturated market, isn't it?
It is. Apart from, but the History of Pop one just packs out every night, and I'm still confused by that show because it's running for the 3rd year show, and I'm touring it, and as you know, and it's but people just like the fact that it's a different, rather than just a man shouting for an hour. There's songs and stuff like that. And I think it's almost like an alternative choice, and it's just if I have 4 of those a day, I'd be making lots of money out of this. But also history of pop is kind of what's keeping me going financially, so whilst the stuff I maybe put a bit more effort into no one comes to, but that's
I mean, and last year you performed 97 times over 23 days,
and I was booked to 110, but I caught shingles.
Oh gosh.
I got very ill in the first week, and I did a lot of the shows sat down. I was really ill last year, and there's a doctor up there, like a Fringe GP, and he kind of said to me, well, no sympathy. He said, I've seen your schedule, you're doing this to yourself. He saw my schedule before, and he kind of said, you're knackered on arrival, because I was working long hours as a drum teacher just to pay for the Fringe beforehand. So I arrived exhausted just to make sure I was financially in a good place, and then I was doing 5 shows a day, and not just doing that. I think if I was just doing 5 hours a day, that's fine. It's the running between them, it's the following, it's all the stuff you have to do around that, and the socialising. And he kind of said to me, you just worn yourself out, and he said, you're not 25 anymore.
No,
you're 36. So no, 37. I'm 37 now. I was 36. And I'm 38 soon. I was confused as to what age I was then. But you know what I mean. But ultimately, I tried a bit too hard, I think, last year. But he's saying that I'm doing 4 this year again, so I don't learn.
And so you're obviously very experienced with music and stuff, and now particularly experience with, I mean, you've done a hell of a lot of gigs as a comedian. What advice would you give to a musician or comedians just starting out on the open mic circuit?
Certainly from a drumming point of view, be as flexible as possible. Join every band going, learn every style of music. I mean, there's a lot of caveman drummers out there still who are stuck in blues rock or whatever, which is cool if that's all they want to do. But I think drummers who want to make a living out of this have to turn up and do anything. So whether it's a full-scale musical or you're playing congas for duets or whatever, I think and don't be a dick. I think just be really nice to everyone all the time, even if the money isn't great, whatever. Everything's a step, isn't it? So
how about someone who does play music and wants to do musical comedy? How would you advise them coming into the open mic scene in a comedy world, but with music?
I think it's we've got it easy compared to other comedians. I think I'm generally seen, if I'm doing like a mixed bill in London, for example, I'm the token weird guy. If there's 10 acts, I'm usually act 8. I've realised that. I'm the one who just breaks things up a little bit because musical comedy is different to what else they've got on the bill. So I think musical comedians generally have it easier. And so just apply for slots, record one song, send it around, if it's a funny song, obviously, and don't pick a massive instrument. So I did a show called One Man in the Box a few years back, in which I toured the UK using public transport, using my cajon, my big box drum, as a suitcase. And so I put all my pants and stuff inside there, and I caught 28 different trains in that tour, and it was just really exhausting to do that. So pick a small instrument, a harmonica or something.
A triangle.
A triangle. It's like, I mean, this little cajon is amazing that I use now because it just fits in a rucksack and it's cool, But pick a nice small instrument, and don't be a diva about plugging in stuff, because you know the turnaround at gigs.
Yeah.
You actually said to me before you booked me the other night, I said, well, I haven't got any DIs or something like that. Yeah, it's true. I was like, I'll just turn up and shout at people and hit stuff. It's like, but I know, like, keyboards, if you're walking on stage and have to set up a massive keyboard and plug it in and all that stuff, you lose the momentum of the room, don't you? And it's the MC won't like that, so just be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, either do that or have these things set up ready.
Totally.
Let them plug it all in, get it ready, and then you just pick it up when you use it.
I mean, a friend of mine, David Trent, we mentioned before, he has a massive projector on stage, and his whole act is projection-based comedy. But he's really good at knowing where he has to be in the set. So either he's headlining, or he's opening the second half.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe he has so much equipment and so much effort goes into setting up, because he'll run on stage and go straight into it. So I think just be a bit prepared for it. But generally, make things. You get more bookings if you're hassle-free. I've realised that if you're on time, and I know I was late for your gig, but I did message to if you're on time and you're nice to people and you're just no hassle for them, I think you get more work that way.
Try not to be hassle, but if you're going to be hassle, please give pre-warning.
Yeah, and so this is why I am, but hopefully it's worth it, and I think that's
Great advice. One last question, really.
Yeah.
What does the next year and the future hold for you?
It changes all the time. So when I got back from the Fringe last year, I had a great run. I popped in the shingles and stuff. I had a really good run, but I thought, that's me done with stand-up now, because it's not progressing anymore. I do well on a certain circuit, and I'm done. But then I start to enjoy it again. So suddenly I'm definitely doing stand-up again for the next 10 years. So it does change all the time. The plan is to write for more people. I'm writing a show for someone else at the moment. I had a show last year with someone else as well. So basically do more of what I'm doing, do it better, and just continue to work and tour. And I'm actually in a position now where I wouldn't change anything. I mean, obviously we'd all love bigger audiences and more money, but realistically that isn't always going to happen, is it? So realise why you're doing it. If you're enjoying it, then would your life be better without it? No. So just carry on doing stuff. So I've written a novel before as well, and there'll be a second novel coming out this year.
Wow.
Which is cool, because I have too much time on my hands, clearly.
What are they called?
The novel is called My Function Band Hell, and it's it's about a bass player. I made it about a bassist rather than a drummer, so no one knew it was me. And it's about a bass player who had great aspirations but turned 40 and ends up in a covers band on a cruise liner, and then tries to commit suicide. It's a comedy, but he hates doing Wham covers every night for a living, and so he ends up in this weird. But then he meets the girl of his dreams on the boat, and ends up sort of finding himself again. So it's a nice story. Once you get through the suicide attempt quite early on, it's lovely.
Stick it out until the end of the book.
Yes, it has 6 spelling mistakes, as I've been told by somebody who bought it, but which is cool. But if you can get through those, that's fine.
Where can people buy that?
It's on Amazon. It's all the Amazon's the best place for it. So I still have some physical copies available, but they're in a really small font. I wouldn't bother. But the Amazon one's is easier to read. I like it. Okay. Musicians really like it. There's a lot of in-jokes in there about aspirations as a musician, but also the grim reality. And it's written in 2 halves. So it's the first half. Also alternates between the 2 halves. It's about him now, and then the rest of it is his diary as a teenager wanting to be a successful musician.
Right, that's really
and you see how much things have changed for him, but actually how much happier he is as a grown-up still. So that's that's a novel, and there'll be another one. I've been working on various bits and bobs. One about a man who accidentally ends up living in someone's attic by mistake, and then spots a murder. That's the new thing I'm working on at the moment. But that's but it'll be a comedy at some point. I'm going to get a sitcom. I made a film a few years back as well, called 50 Ways to Leave Your Drummer, in which I got sacked by 50 different people.
Nice.
So I had to play badly on Possible. So I got sacked by Jethro Tull, and Frank Turner sacked me, Arthur Smith, comedian, Pappy's sacked me. No, brilliant sketch, well, you know. And I just emailed over 1,000 people, asked them to sack me, and 50 of them did. So I got a film out of that. I ended up in the Arts Picture House as a premiere and stuff. So it was a good thing. I just kind of milked it for about 2 years, which is too long, really. So hopefully there'll be another film at some point. I'm making a film at the moment called Laughing Boy on Drums, and it's about this whole impression, because I get work because I'm a happy drummer. I get that, and actually, sometimes you're masking something. I did a gig on the day of my dad's funeral. It's obviously like the worst day of my life, and then on stage I was still like happy man drumming, because my face goes happy when I'm drumming, and it was Paul is such a happy guy. I went backstage and cried my eyes out, obviously, and I think we can do the whole Tears of a Clown type thing. So that's a film that's happening. So yeah, lots of touring, lots of films, lots of novels and stuff, and keep on enjoying myself.
And you've got your Fringe.
Yeah, so more imminently, there's I think there's going to be, I'm doing 4 a day this year, even though I was told by a doctor so he did too, but what do they know? So I'm doing, I've got a new play called Harvey Greenfield is Running Late, which is involves me running for an hour on stage whilst apologising for being late for things. It's an exhausting show. I don't think I'm physically in shape for it yet, but I have to be by August. So that's on at 11:30 every morning as well. What could possibly go wrong? And then I'm doing History of Pop at 2:15, and then I'm doing a show in which I'm meeting all the Spurs players from the first ever Spurs game that I went to in 1992, and interviewing them as like a spoken word thing. And then
I'm gonna have to suspend this interview now because I'm an Arsenal fan.
Oh, that's yeah. I'm having a good season. I know you're not after that. 1-0 to that bait when you played it. What's that about?
This is going to change the dynamic of this.
It will be broadcast now because the man's a tosser. But yeah, no, I'm meeting up with Ian Walker and Justin Edinburgh and Teddy Sheringham and all these guys. I haven't actually started meeting them yet, and I need to get a move on with that because the venue's just been confirmed. Then my Edinburgh stand-up hour is me trying to do my last 4 Edinburgh hours in 1 hour. That's the so it's called Paul Richards Talks Too Fast, and it's me doing 4 hours worth of content.
And if people can't make it to the Fringe, where can they see you perform? In Cambridge or in London?
Cambridge. I run a night in Shepworth, which is in Cambridge-ish, called Let's Face the Music and Bounce, which is a title I was so proud of, but I'm stuck with now, and the novelty's worn off. So that's the second Tuesday of every month. Yeah, and that's at the Plough in Shepworth, where I'm just there, usually trying out stuff and often chickening out and doing old stuff again, as we all do as a general rule. We have amazing comedians. We had Rachel Krieger in the other day. She's doing really well at the moment. We have Peter Buckley Hill, who's the founder of the Free Fringe. He's done it for me a few times. So really great people. That's a nice night, and it's free as well. So that's it. And then just check out my website because stuff comes in. So it's thepaulrichards.com. You'll see my massive list of events, which scares me slightly because I'm a stalker's dream.
It has been an incredible conversation, and thank you so much for coming to see me and talk. I look forward to being at all your gigs and maybe collaborating together.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed myself. What a nice way to spend a Saturday morning.
Anything else to plug?
There's almost too much, isn't there? So if there's 4 new shows ultimately, so
go and see them.
Yeah, please go and see them. Yeah, thank you. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
Well, what an awesome chat that I had with Paul. He has 4 shows going to the Edinburgh Fringe this year, as if performing 97 times wasn't enough last year. So if you are at the Fringe, I highly recommend catching one of, or if not, all of his shows. He isn't a huge fan of social media, but his website is always up to date, so check out his web address in the episode description. What is going on in my world? Well, I've booked conversations with comedians all the way up until the end of April. I'm also in Uganda at the end of March and will be interviewing some of their top comedians for a few special episodes, so keep an eye out for that. That's going to be really amazing. Of course, I'm running the Bridge Comedy Club as well, gigging as much as I can, and still doing the monthly episodes of OutLuke on Life with Martin and Chris. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars of course, and review the podcast wherever you listen to it. And if you want to contribute to the running costs, you're more than welcome to by going over to my website, lukeanthonycomedy.co.uk/podcast, and hit the donate button. Thank you for listening to the Comedians Outlook podcast, and please tune in next week for another great conversation. In the meantime, you can listen to the back catalogue, all of 2 episodes so far, but still worth a listen. Bye for now.